everyone, and welcome to the Diplomacy Timing Window, where the rules are discussed and our opinions don't matter. My name is Hungry Hippos.
I'm Kazadoom.
And I'm the Half-Heard.
On today's episode, we have a special guest, the winner of our recent Twilight Wars tournament, Doc. Doc, welcome to the Diplomacy Timing Window. How are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Thanks so much for having me, you guys.
It's great to have you. I am super impressed with the game. It's like so much fun to watch. I was curious going into it whether or not it'd be defensive or an aggressive game, and I don't know. In my opinion, it started out very aggressive, and it's always the most fun to watch games like that.
Yeah, it was very exciting to be a part of. A lot of great action, a lot of intrigue. Kind of one of those games where it tells a story, and I told the other guys in the game at the end, this was one of the most exciting games I've ever played. It was a blast. So
I'm kind of curious. We in the background tried to decide, like, based off of the three games that you went through. You know, you chose Hakan and then Arborek against Fingolfin, and then this one. Which of the three games would you think was the hardest for you to win?
Oh, I think the one against Fingolfin, where I was Arborek, was the 3-player game. I felt like that was the hardest one going, just because so many things had to go right. And the 14-point game is such a long game. You know, as it is with TI in general, the timing of things at the end game is really where it all comes down to. And but you know what, this finals game, I'm not going to say it wasn't hard. It was absolutely bonkers at the end, and the things just went the right way for me. But it was definitely more involved, I think, in the end game of the finals game. A lot more planning, a lot more. Okay, if I do this next, I got to do this after that, and if I do this, oh, what if this happens? And there was, but you know what? I think part of that is the faction you play too. Ghosts, when you play Ghosts, you have to play that way. You have to.
Oh, so many options.
Exactly.
You have all the system, any system open to you, really, right? Once you have the kind of your wormhole set up, and
yes,
and you just got great movement.
Yes, but then those wormholes, they can bite you if you're not paying attention to who has what. And it's like, okay, they put an alpha here. Is that going to work for me? Probably not. How about a beta instead? And then you do a little dealing. But yeah, it was a super fun game.
So I'm curious, obviously, given we're spectators, even though we kind of, I don't know, screwed around. We said that there was some rigging going on where there wasn't, obviously, but like how much of the obviously.
Well, don't ask Fingolfin, because he'll tell you
no collusion.
That's right. He and I have joked in other games, because the dice never go my way, is what I was like. I always lament. I'm like, oh, what's with this game? They hate me. The dice hate me. And then he literally was on Discord. He's like, you can never say that again.
You can never complain about the dice again.
Well, we'll get into that battle, but I'm curious as to, like, how much of the meta game was there that, you know, we as people who weren't in the tournament didn't see. Like, was it? I mean, we saw a lot of action on the board, but how much was happening in the background for some diplomacy and some metagame? What was going on there?
I would say quite a lot. But my experience was primarily with Cornet. He is an amazing metagame player, and total props to him. He really, I mean, I know what my communication was like with him, and some of the other guys, Hutik too, and Kaz, you do a great job. So the metagaming was high level and quite impressive from everybody.
Awesome.
I want to get, I guess, my question in, because I think it's probably one that's burning on most people's minds, and that's really to get inside your head here and know what was going through your mind when you laid that epic siege on the Arborek home system.
Oh, and the Battle of Nestafar. Yes.
The Battle of Nestafar. I know, like, when we were in the chat as well, right? We had our chat where the finalists, you guys couldn't see what was going on, but
yeah.
you know, there was a lot of talk even around like, oh, why is Doc slaying? It's like,
Yep.
you know, he's just gonna hand someone else the win. But
Exactly.
yeah, so you know,
So
obviously both the space and the ground were highly favored against you. So just keep very, you know, we want to know, you know, what was
Sure.
going through your head.
So to get into my head on that one, you have to back up a couple of steps, only because it was like you said, you don't ever as a player want to be in a situation where you're slaying for no reason. And Cornet was obviously in the position to win, and Hutic, Necro, was right there behind. And I'm like, I can't attack this home system and just give it to Necro. And so I started exploring what his setup was and what his options were. And as I looked at it, I just kept thinking to myself, I think he has counterstroke, because the way he had, because it was the lead from the front was the one that he was most likely to score that time. And so I started asking around and then found out that had a Sabo. And so I'm like, okay, you got to be ready to play sabotage against counterstroke, because I'm convinced he has it. And but you know, in that whole process, I wasn't going to be willing to attack Nestafar unless Necro could attack first to soften it up a little bit. And then I told him, I said, I texted, I was messaging him and I said, if you have counterstroke, this would be perfect, because you could get stuff close, we could get your token off, and then you could move in more to really beat him up so that I can come in more easily. And he didn't really respond to that until Kaza, you attacked his home system. Yeah. And then he played it. And I'm like, no, what are you, no, what do you mean? It's like, play the Sabo. This all going south. Well, because if any of those things really wouldn't have happened, that attack on Nestafar would never have happened.
I mean, we talked about it. You made me attack him, and I kind of crashed my fleet there, which is kind of sad.
I didn't think it was going to be that sad, but I gotta say it was pretty rough.
Such a dramatic battle.
I mean, I have to say, even already now, I'm super impressed with your intuition and your strategy. Not your strategy, more like your analysis of the game. And you got it right. He did have counterstroke. Yeah, that's awesome.
And so so when we finally got it all worked out, and he made the attack, and the softening wasn't really a whole lot, of like, oh, this is not going to go well. Like everybody else, they were all probably on Battle Calculator trying to figure this out. I had it calculated out at 46% chance in space, and I'm like, that's a good enough chance.
That's not bad. That's better than the odds I was looking at, but you might have known, maybe you had some cards up your sleeve there.
Yep. I knew I was sitting on a direct hit. And I had maneuvering jets, so I was able to soak a hit on the ground combat against the PDS, which that was the biggest concern there. But I wasn't sitting with Rally. Cornet was convinced I had Rally, and if I did, that would have made it a lot easier, but it was not the case. But yeah, I had it at 46% chance in space and at 20% on the ground. I'm like, and I remember messaging you, Kaza, and saying, yeah, this is about to go poorly.
I mean, in the end, it doesn't matter what your chance is, because you kind of have to take it anyway.
Yes.
If it fails, you tried. If it works out, it's amazing. So
yep, whatever. Exactly. And it turned out amazing.
It makes knowing the chances makes the story that much sweeter.
Oh
yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, in the game, you don't have a choice. It's just like either you do it or you don't.
Right. And at that point, I knew that Necro wasn't going to automatically win because he had spent enough tokens that he couldn't score lead from the front. And so, we got to go. And so I did it. And the rest is history.
Incredible.
Yep.
Yeah. And just funny, you talk about the odds. I actually had a brief chat with Cornet just over Discord messages, and his solace is that he knows that in 100 other alternate universes he came out as the tournament winner on.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. And we were chatting quite a bit in game, and he admitted too, he's like, yeah, this has been the perfect storm of secret objectives and public objectives for me, and I think people maybe underestimated me a little bit as Arborek, and frankly, I feel like between him and I being Arborek and Ghosts, those were not the strongest factions in this game.
Oh,
No, absolutely not. I mean, his build was scary. He was so fast.
Oh yeah.
For Arborek, that's really, he got the right skips.
Yep.
And I mean, in the end, he made a deal with me for Mechatol at some point. He's like, yeah, he wants to move in first. I was like, yeah, okay, perfect, let's do this.
Yep.
And then he didn't move in, and I took Mechatol on my second move.
Yeah.
Because he was blocked somehow. He was a bit salty, I guess. But
yep. I don't remember if it
because
was
that
me
screwed
that
up
blocked him.
it screwed up his Imperial. And if I hadn't done it, the game would have gotten completely out of hand.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yep.
How long was that siege? Do we know? Was it like, over all things said?
Yeah, you mean
we
as
talking
far as
like 24?
planning?
Well, I guess even just from the game's point of view, what was it, about 24 hours?
Boy, I don't remember exactly. I'd have to look at the game log, but I
Yeah,
feel like it was
trying to-
fairly quick. I mean, we had a little bit of a time zone difference for Cornet and I, but I feel like we were both on at the same time, and we hammered
Okay.
through it
How,
pretty quick.
yeah, I guess the question I'm building up there is like how nerve-wracking was it, right? Given async,
Oh.
right? You can
Yeah.
disconnect a bit, right? So, but like, were you jittery at certain points? Was it like a prolonged like dread? Like how did that feel?
I don't remember so much on that attack, but later on, the one again on Saldor, that one was
Yes,
that one was hairy.
definitely wanting to know about that
Oh,
because
man.
really, talk about the siege at Nestafar, but then interesting to see that the game really came down to the wire with
Yeah.
the Battle of Saldor. Not as glorious for sure. One dread, I
Right.
think it was one dread versus one dread.
Yeah,
And
but
he had the sustained advantage.
It's still, yeah.
yes, he had the sustained advantage, and then still had a shield holding.
Oh geez, that's right.
And I'm sitting
Yeah.
there, oh, I'm doomed again. this is only going to go back. Well, a fun side story on that. I was playing that last round, trying to show like I had become the gatekeeper. And so I wanted to be positioning in wormholes with a lot of the strength of my fleet. And in fact, it was part of the arrangement for me to leave Nestafar was to have Cornet place a wormhole for me to lead that. Well, then in the end of the game, Ha was sitting there with become the gatekeeper and like, oh, okay, so that wasn't going very far with that ruse. But I was trying to play it differently, so it wasn't so obvious. But I was needing to take those industrial planets, and I was running out of tokens, and I knew the way Hutic was playing, he was just gonna kind of keep picking me off if I didn't, first do some protecting. But then Saldor was the last stand, the last place I had to get, and I was battling against the L1 fleet there, which I think was just a cruiser, and I brought enough that it shouldn't have been close. And I ended with one dreadnought that was damaged, and the one guy on it,
my god.
I lambasted the planet with bombardment, and my guy landed safe and clear, and then here comes a Hutic in the chat. So are my choices attack Saldor or just let you win? I'm like, yeah, I guess that's your choice. and then sure enough, the battle happened. But then it was just miss after miss after miss, and I'm like, what in the world is happening here?
I mean, it made sense after the Battle of Nestafar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was joking with my son, my kids, they get a kick out of this. They're like, Dad, you are totally nerding out. I'm like, you guys don't understand. And so my son, he's
How old are they?
My son is 16 and my daughter is 13.
Oh, that's incredible.
And my son's learning to drive, so he's driving to school and I'm riding along, and I'm just telling him, it's unbelievable. You won't believe this. I just and he's just like,
oh, I love it.
chuckling the whole time, and
It's
Oh,
like, Dad,
anyway.
shouldn't you be watching the road and teaching me how to just no, like listen.
Yeah, right. It's either this or listen to the radio, and this is way more exciting. I have to tell you, I can't tell you what's going on. And,
Oh, I love
but
that.
yeah,
That's hilarious.
So in the end, I think if I, for some reason, had gotten the L1 home system in that second incredible siege,
oh yeah,
you wouldn't have had the token to score your secret, right?
you're right.
Because you would have had to take my home system to get
I would
the
have
crown.
I would have had
losing
to
my
take your home
support.
system. Oh yeah, I would have lost your support, and then there was still the risk of Minister of Peace, which that was a funny side highlight.
Shoot, there was Minister of Peace in there too. I
Yeah.
forgot.
Well, I don't know if you remember, but there was the point where I was the Minister of Policy, was
Right.
the one where you get the extra action card, which was like ridiculous. Like getting an extra action card that late in the game, it was kind of a bummer policy. But then I was sitting with repeal law. And so I was ready to repeal the Minister of Peace. So in case I needed to do something, I could. And then I needed extra trade goods in that round. We were all trying to get to 10 trade goods. And so I think I offered to repeal my own minister instead
Yep.
of your own in order to get a wash or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then even if you would have taken his home system, then the Minister of Peace would have, the play would have changed, I think, a little bit, because you wouldn't have necessarily played it, I think, when he tried to.
Yeah, that's true on the counterattack. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, so much fun.
Yeah, that was so crazy.
Yeah. And I guess that you spoke about the support, right? I guess was that a condition to the Nestafar siege, was to get that at least some support from the table?
Because I was going to be losing the Arborex support. We had been support partners the whole game because we were both slow out of the gate. Slow out of the gate, and Cornet was moving a lot more desirably, I guess, through the VPs, and I was just kind of stifled a little bit early on. After I made one play and an agreement with Hutik to have position next to Mechatol to get my first point, but then after that it was kind of a sleep and hope for the best. I remember when we draw secret objectives, I was sitting with two and I had the get your 2 faction tech and threaten enemies to be adjacent to an enemy home system.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm like, I know I'm Ghost, but I do not want to be jumping way over by people's home systems. I'll ditch that one. Well, I ended up getting it back.
You what? How does that work?
Well, later
it gets shuffled every time you discard the secret objective gets shuffled.
So on a later Imperial draw, I got it back, and by that time in the game, well, that was the round after the attack at Nestafar. So, and I had positioned over on the side of the board by and Kaza's home system.
Oh, right, yeah, all the way at.
You guys want me to pull up the map so you can point to it, or you guys?
Yeah, good idea.
Oh, right. Sure. Yeah. So I was positioned at that point in Aaron Mir and in Centauri Grawl. Mm-hmm. And when I drew threatened enemies again, I'm like, oh yes, I've got a secret that I can score this round, because I was not going to get the 2-pointer for 10 trade goods because everybody had given their trade agreement to Cornet for some reason. I don't know what's going on here. And so that was not likely to pan out for me, but I needed to get in close. I needed to score another point because I had Speaker. And I mean, that was another thing that came into play on attacking Nestafar. With Speaker position, even though I was at the back of the pack, I think I was in 5th place because Bot had been eliminated at that point, and I was right after that. If I could be at 7, and since I had drawn politics, I knew what the agendas were. That was the fun thing. I knew what the agendas were, and I set them up so that Crown of Amphidia was the second to vote on.
Nice.
And sure enough, during the action card draw at the end of the round, I drew Assassinate Representative. And then like, this is unbelievable. What is going on? It's more than just circumstance. There's like divine intervention going on here.
And then
the assassinate
the riders.
Yep. And then all the riders came out of like, God, rat. That's not going to pan out. But it was still fun. It was still fun.
That is what an incredible like agenda phase too, right? Right after everyone thought the game was going to end. Yep. Right, the game continues, and not only does it continue, the agenda is just crazy. You got the crown with all the riders, like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and I remember right before the end of the round, knowing that those agendas were both going to be good and people would want to get in on them. I started like offering to sell my political secret. I'm like, man, I got to get these 10 trade goods in order to be a little bit closer. And nope. If we get you, everybody's comment was essentially, no, I don't think you having that many trade goods is a good idea, and having sneaker, and they were all right, because then, but it changed the way that I looked at the strategy card pick in that last round. I knew, well, galvanize the people was out, so leadership was a super important one, and scoring first was going to be critical, so it was the obvious choice.
Yeah, no, and I thought that was a really interesting choice, right? Because the kind of gut reaction is to just grab Imperial.
Yep.
And seeing that you kind of went with the leadership route, I thought was definitely very interesting, and turned out to be the right decision. Very close, obviously, but
yep. And you know what? We talked about the what's so nice about async play. You can sleep on those decisions, right? You can come back and you're like, okay, yep, I definitely need to get leadership. I thought that was right. We're gonna go with that. Yep. And then,
but I mean, you were at 7. You had no real chance to grab Mechatol, so
you
kind of had to do that. And it set you up for the objective and score first for the secret. So
and so it was just a matter of getting that monopolize production and score the 6 tokens.
Yep. Talking agenda phase, I mean, for me, one of the craziest points was when the seed of an empire was revealed.
Yes, that was first of all, that the other guys, I think it was and Hutic, they did a support swap, and they snuck it in, and I was like, oh, that was good, man. That was a brilliant play. I think I was.
What were the scores at that agenda? Do you guys remember, or just approximately? Like, what were the leaders at?
I was last with the barony.
Yep, and I think Cornet was in the lead.
At 5.
Yeah, like 5, I think. And I was
a bunch of 4s.
And a bunch of 4s.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, if Cornet gets this point, probably not the end of the world. We can overcome that. And then the other guys swap supports, and they're right there with them, and they all got it. And it was just me and Kaza left in the dust. And I'm like, no, this. I remember.
Things working out in this game.
This is not going to go. This is not good.
I was not good. This is game for me. I'm out.
Yeah, and I felt the same way, actually. In fact, I've this an aside, I've got a real life game group that we play a lot. There's a good number of us. We get together probably about once or twice a month.
That's nice.
It's awesome.
Have you been bragging to them?
Well, I'll tell you about that in a second. But leading up to that, it was right after that Seed of the Empire play. I think we had gotten together to play, and they're like, "So, are you still doing that tournament thing?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, but it's about over. This play happened, and it was really smooth, and I think it's pretty much over." And they're like, "Oh man, that stinks." And then when we actually played this past Friday, and I said, "Hey, yeah, you remember that game I told you would?" It was like not going well, and I thought it was about over. Yeah, I won.
Amazing.
And they're like, "What? This is unbelievable!" And then I showed them the beautiful pixel art. Oh man, everybody is like so jealous. They're like, "That is so amazing. This is absolutely sick. Oh, this is crazy." And then I think I predicted it also the meta changes when somebody finds out you won a tournament.
Yes, that's amazing.
So I know we're not talking about that game anymore, but it's I played Mentac and we play POK, and it's the first time I played Mentac in POK. I was really interested to try it out. I came in second. I did not win, but everybody was very much like, okay, whatever you do, do not trade with him. All right, he's whatever you do. And
this guy's won a tournament.
Yeah, did you see the pixel art? You cannot trust him to do it.
The pixel art on Etsy.
It's
old pixel shop.
The old pixel shop.
That's
so
awesome.
You got a little word of mouth there, Kaz. It's
awesome.
pretty awesome.
No,
Well,
I'm
and you
so
know,
glad you like it. It's always great to have this stuff appreciated.
It's beautiful.
And just, I guess, one last thing I wanted to bring up, and Hippos, I don't know if you want to share again real quick and just bring up the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
Because, talking about, bragging to your friends and the campfire stories you're going to tell your kids and hopefully your grandkids, right? How does it feel? Immortalized in the Twilight Wars, main page here. It must be pretty cool.
It is cool. It's very humbling too. I pointed it out, like I was saying with my kids. It's like, guys, look what they did. They're like, wait, that's you? Like, yeah.
I really have to give it to you. The picture is wonderful. I love Bugs Bunny. I love the Looney Tunes.
Yeah.
The Sarge on it. The Sarge helmet is good.
The Sarge helmet. When I was first getting involved with the Twilight Wars community, which it's only been since I think last July. Everybody's like, Doc, what's up, Doc? And I'm like, oh, that wouldn't be too bad. So that I found the best Bugs Bunny avatar I could, and
Nice.
And I think I was playing Barony at the time, and so it's like, I'm Barony and I'm Bugs Bunny. I'm gonna crush you. And but no, it's been awesome. It's an honor to be a part of that Hall of Fame. And I tell you what, any one of those other 6 or other 5 guys, they could equally be here and have the right to be here. Everybody was the consummate professionals, great gamers. It was an honor and a privilege to play against them.
Well said. And, I hope we're going to have more tournaments, more leagues. It's a great community and it's a great platform. So, hopefully people will get their chance to get up on that Hall of Fame as well. And hopefully we'll see it grow.
Absolutely.
I am curious, just as a little feedback, how did you see the tournament progress? Was it well thought out? Did you like how we did
Did we do a good job?
3-player game, 6-player game?
Yeah.
Did it work out?
Total props to you guys. You did an awesome job. I thought, first of all, one of my favorite parts was the change up in the meta to have a first and second place player in the prelim go forward. That was cool. I know a lot of people don't like when you mess with the meta and kind of change the feel of the game, and what's going to happen now if people are going for second in order to try to progress through. In fact, I went into my prelim game thinking, okay, I got to play for second.
It's a different game when you think like that.
Yes, and when everybody is thinking differently, it changes things. It's not a joke. It's not like some mysterious thing. It actually makes an impact on the way people make plans and play their game. And I just thought it was a really creative way to launch that tournament and then changing it. And then I was like, oh, maybe that'll be first and second all the way through. This will be kind of cool. And then it goes to the 3-player. And I'm like, oh, wow. Because they're so fast and responsive. If you get the right, people involved, they can, clip along at a nice pace, and the game is so different when you play to 14 points. And that was an Arborek game. Was that the only Arborek win in all the tournament? I don't remember.
I think so. Yeah. I think so.
I liked how the format allowed someone to be versatile throughout Twilight, because you have to admit that a 4-player game, a 3-player game, a 6-player game are very different TI games.
Yes.
And if you come out on top at the very end, quite the versatile player. So
Yeah.
again, props to you.
Well, thanks. Well, other parts of the tournament, I like the way you guys handled the drafting. Funny, I think it's funny. Maybe it just is lending to the narrative of the whole epic thing. Cornet and I were the last one to get factions in that finals game because we kept picking
there was
the
a lot
same
of banning.
one.
I remember that. You guys banned like 4 or 5 factions before
in
you
a
finally.
row. It was ridiculous. I think we were the last 2 up, and I'm like, I want you, Sorrow. Nope, banned. Like, wait a second, what's good? Like, I don't know. I think Hakan. No, banned. And I said, okay, that's it. I gotta text him. So I'm messaging him. Okay, before there's no good factions left, what are we gonna do here?
That's awesome.
Yeah, but and then to be right there together, kind of working through the game with the weaker factions throughout, and then have it come against mano a mano at the end. It was just so fun. No, but you guys did an awesome job. I loved it. I'm looking forward to what comes in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah,
well, listen, Doc, it's been great. Thanks for taking the time to speak with us today, and congratulations again.
Thank you so much.
And we'll look forward. Are you in the league?
I am.
You are, right? Yeah.
Yep. 6 games going.
Awesome.
Nice.
Moving well.
Good luck in those.
Thank you very much.
Well, I think we spent enough time stalling in this timing window, so let's hit the pass button and keep the game moving.